I thought I'd do something a little different tonight and have a sit down chat about the cabin, why I built it. As far back as I can remember, I've always wanted a little cabin in the woods. When I was at work, co-workers would talk about places they had up in New Hampshire or Maine or Vermont they would get away to. When I was working, money was tight. The money I had to go to raising our kids. But just before I retired, I had some money from my parents, enough to put down and buy the land outright. Got 2 1/3 acres here. I've paid everything as I went along, so there's no debt here at all. My grandfather, when I was little, he had a house in New Hampshire, a cottage. It was on a lake. So in some ways, I feel like I'm traveling in my grandfather's footsteps. I've been a prepper for maybe 25 years now. I started before the Y2K rollover. Had extra food on hand, extra tools, things that I thought that I'd need. And I've continued that ever since and been conservative in my investments. Now, 2022, it's getting to the point where I can't believe the nation hasn't collapsed yet. Every day it seems like we're living on borrowed time. To quote one of my old friends, this is my Site B. My Site B is a place where I can go if the shit hits the fan. And there's enough room here for my family too. Hopefully that won't happen, but in today's economy, today's politics, today's wars overseas, you really don't know what's going to happen, so you need to be prepared. You need to keep your preps up. So that's part of my thinking on why I built this place. I wanted a small town, which I got. I wanted a place where there were no building codes, so I could do the work myself, which is what I got. And let's see, I started this back in 2015, was when we poured the foundation, and I built the frame, and I had a good friend of mine frame the roof for me because I don't like heights. So that got me started, and got a wood stove installed so I could work up here in the colder weather. So I'd be up here on vacations, holidays, whenever I get a chance I'd come up and work on the cabin. So I got the outside enclosed. The inside now is, I don't know, maybe 80% done. I got running water. I've got heat from the wood stove. I've got the walls on the first floor done, covered with tongue and groove pine. So first floor looks pretty good, except for the mess in here. I've got over there. I've got 4 12-foot pieces of tongue and groove that I'm going to put up behind the wood stove tomorrow or the next day. That's how I arrived at this point. And if we get lucky and things go well and we don't fall apart as a nation or as a civilization, then this will just be a nice place to spend time, to retire to take vacations to, and someday to leave to my kids. It's a small space. It's 32 feet long and 14 feet wide. I chose the 14-foot width because I figured that's about the longest length of lumber, especially 2x10s, that I could handle myself, because the vast majority of this cabin I built myself. It's an open floor plan. Got a wood stove, as I mentioned. I've got a bathroom with a shower that drains out to a septic field. I have a shallow well. It goes down about 10 feet. The well dries up in late July and August, generally. So I have 4 250-gallon IBC totes that I store water in, and the water is for sanitary use. I don't drink it. I probably could. There's probably nothing wrong with it. I just haven't had it tested yet. There's a public well nearby. It's a pipe that comes out of the side of a mountain. And that's where everyone goes in town to get their drinking water. So I do that. And if I ever ran out of water, I can drive down to the lake and fill up a 55-gallon drum and bring it back here and pump it out. Use that. As I mentioned, that's an open floor plan. I built a Murphy bed, which is over on that wall. You've seen that in some of my videos. So I can use that. And I've got a couch that converts into a sleeper. I guess it's more like a futon, the mattress, but it's very comfortable. And normally that's what I sleep on when I come up here. So we can sleep 2 and 2 on those 2 beds, and then I've got a pull-down attic stairway which goes up into this loft, and I have a cot up in this loft right now, and there's another loft on the other side of the cabin. The loft on the west end, I'm sitting on the west side, is about 10 feet long and 13 feet wide, and the other loft is 8 by 13. So there's actually this room in both lofts to sleep. I still have to do the tongue and groove on the ceiling, which will be up under the rafters. And in the middle of the cabin, so there'll be a middle section of 12 or 16 feet in the center of the cabin, which will be open to the ceiling, so you'll be able to look up, and it'll give you a feeling of spaciousness. You'll be able to look up at the tongue and groove pine on the ceiling, so that'll be nice. And then I have to plumb up the shower, the drains, and the supply lines. And I have to get a propane instant hot water heater, which I'll use for hot water. The house runs on solar power. There's no connection to the street. I've got 500 watts of power of solar panels right now hooked up. And I wired the house so it's wired for both 12 volt DC and 120 volt AC. I've got outlets for both. The 120 volt outlets are normal outlets. The 12 volt DC outlets are 220 volt outlet. It's got a horizontal prong on the outlets, so it's impossible to plug a 120 volt plug into a 12 volt outlet and vice versa. Actually, I think that meets code. So I wanted to do that because you know, if the grid goes down, I want to have the solar power. Part of the reason I'm building this is for emergency reasons. I'll always have that 12 volts and then the solar power. And right now I have 4 golf cart deep cycle batteries that I store electricity in. I have a 2000 watt pure sine wave inverter, which I still have to hook up. But once I hook that up, that'll be connected to a fuse box and then to the 120 volt outlets in the wall. That pure sine wave inverter is a 24 volt inverter, so I'll reconfigure the batteries to 24 volts. And I have a step down transformer down in the cellar, so I'll step that 24 volts down to 12 volts for the outlets, and then that'll pretty much do it. Place will never be finished. I'll always find something else more that I want to do, but that's the way I am. Once I get all that stuff done, it'll be time to work out in the yard, maybe have a garden, definitely get a lawn down, get rid of these weeds. Actually, probably before the lawn, I want to build a screened-in deck off the front of the cabin, just outside the front door. It'll be small, be I don't know, maybe 8 by 10 or something. But I want to have that so on hot days I can sit out there on the screened-in porch and catch the breeze, and if it's a hot night, go out there and sleep outside in the screened-in porch. So that's my my rant for tonight as to why I built this place and some of the specs for the cabin. And like I say, it's everything's paid for materials as I went along, so that's not an issue. Only thing I have to do is pay taxes, which I say death and taxes, you can't avoid those. Alright, so thanks for listening. Please subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up. I'm trying to build my membership here on YouTube. We'll see you next time back at the cabin. Take care.